Doctor Who Season by Season. New Who Series 7B Review. Series 7B of televised fan fiction New Who was broadcast in 2013, the 50th anniversary year of Doctor Who. It consisted of 8 episodes, the second half of the 7th series, 5 episodes of which was screened in 2012, which were followed later in the year by both the official 50th anniversary special and the Christmas special that marked the swan song of 11th Doctor Matt Smith after 3 seasons and 4 years in the role. Prior to Series 7B was the 2012 Christmas special, The Snowmen. This Christmas special was mildly better than the previous 2 Christmas specials of the Moffat era, but not by much. There are 2 main gimmicks of the episode, one of which is the return of the Great Intelligence from the Patrick Troughton stories The Abominable Snowmen and The Web of Fear, and the other is the second appearance of Jenna Louise Coleman as the new apparent companion, Clara, a young woman from the Victorian era. Both turn out to be a bit of a joke. The Great Intelligence might as well be anything, especially given the lack of the Yeti, its main monstrous foot soldiers in those first 2 stories, and the terrible backstory suddenly given to it by Moffat, which reduces much of the cosmic horror entity of the original stories into it being a bit of a joke. Victorian Clara seems fairly promising, and certainly a historical companion seems like a pretty radical move for New Who, which in itself tells you a lot about their staid conservatism of the new series, but turns out to be a deliberate piece of wrong footing when, lo and behold, Victorian Clara kicks the bucket at the end of the story and, guess what? The real companion Clara will be from 21st century London instead. Wow, feel the originality. The ending, where the Great Intelligence is defeated by the power of tears or some such horse shit, is also hilariously cringeworthily awful. Series 7B proper starts with the Bells of St. John, or as I like to call it, the Bell Ends of St. John. This is a follow-up to the Snowmen, which not only sees the return of the Great Intelligence but finally introduces the real new companion version of Clara, and sadly she's the worst of the lot. Make no mistake, I can't fucking stand Clara. She has the personality of a jellyfish and the actress just does not have the ability to add any real charisma to such a poorly written and underdeveloped character, whose sole characteristic appears to be being smug as fuck. The story itself is also complete shit, a tedious mishmash of other earlier New Who stories like The Idiot's Lantern, and done with zero in the way of atmosphere or tension. At this point Smith's Doctor is also a completely punchable and annoying prick. Dreadful. Things do not improve with the next story, The Rings of Akaton, or as I like to call it, The Rings of Askaton. This is another mishmash recalling Davis-era stories like The End of the World, but is far worse. The new TARDIS team are possibly the worst in the entire history of the series, either annoyingly smug or annoyingly stupid, and the script is absolute shite. There are a couple of decent-looking monsters in this, but they do nothing and the story ends up with Smith looking as embarrassed as fuck delivering a shitty speech that somehow defeats a sun god monster with the power of a fucking leaf or something. For fuck's sake? The little girl is the only decent actor in the whole thing, which tells you everything you need to know right there. The next story is Cold War. Now this at least has a reasonable premise, and one that any era of Who could have made a great story out of, as a Russian submarine in the Cold War picks up something in the ice that turns out to be an ice warrior, who soon defrosts and goes on the rampage. Nothing wrong with that idea. Sadly New Who at this point is incapable of delivering anything other than mediocrity even with a decent premise. The Ice Warrior's voice has changed, for no apparent reason, and is shit, as is the laughable CGI head at the end. Moffat had no interest in bringing the Ice Warriors back, which quickly becomes apparent when it gets out of its suit and starts acting like an alien from, Alien, instead. David Warner is wasted, Smithy is annoying as fuck, and it all feels deeply rushed, underdeveloped and vaguely dull. The next story is Hyde. This is a ghost story with a good guest cast. Sadly, any atmosphere is lost the moment Smithy and Clara turn up acting like complete tits and a good monster turns out be just looking for its mate. The power of love saves the day again for the third time in 4 episodes. What the fuck is this, Doctor Who or a Disney movie for fuck's sake? The next story is Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. I didn't mind this at the time, as Smithy was behaving himself and there were some vague moments of tension, but it doesn't stand up to repeat viewings. It has a spectacularly dumb fuck idea with the 3 brothers, with 2 convincing the third that he's an android for some fucking reason and him apparently going along with it for months. So, what, you're telling me he never needed to take a shit? What the fuck is this moronicity? The next story is The Crimson Horror, which is probably the best story of Series 7B. The Paternoster gang are now almost as annoying as the current TARDIS team, but the story is reasonably interesting, coherent and atmospheric. There's a nice gallows humor to it and Diana Rigg, fuck me she's old, is fun as the villainess, who remains pleasingly unrepentant and a complete nutjob to the end. It's also nothing short of fucking delightful that she's defeated not by the power of love or some such shit but just by Strax shooting the bitch. Somewhere the Brigadier is smiling at that one. The next story is Nightmare in Silver, but any hope that the season might recover in the last few episodes is well and truly fucked up the ass by this gigantic turd. The Cybermen are redesigned and made even more ridiculous and fucktarded than ever, and the kids, especially the little girl, are doing their best to be even more annoying than the regulars, but they hadn't counted on Matt Smith's truly dreadful performance as the bad doctor in his head or whatever the fuck that shit's supposed to be, which is his single worst moment in the role. This is gobsmackingly awful stuff. The final story of the mercifully short half-season is The Name of the Doctor. Again, this is better than some of this season, but that's again not to say that means it's any good. It's all doom and gloom and portents of big important things gonna happen, honest governor, but with no real story. The Whispermen are okay, and it becomes apparent that the reason the Ice Warriors have had their voices stolen is because Moff Twat's given them to these fuckers instead. Much like Davis gave the Sontarans proper costumes to the fucking Judoon. What the fuck's going on with that shit, people? The clips of the old Doctors veer from sweet to rubbish, and only serve to highlight what a completely different program the classic series was and is to this stuff. And the ending, oh the ending, with the revelation of a hidden Doctor we've never seen before, which leads into the anniversary special Day of the Doctor. Day of the Doctor aired later in the year, and is purportedly the 50th anniversary story of the show. In reality it's more of an 8th anniversary New Who story, because it revolves largely around the Time War bullshit. As well as bringing back the character no one was calling to see again, the terrible Kate my dad was in this show once you know Stuart, and ruining the Zygons, one of the best one-off monsters in the history of the series, who were literally made into a joke from their first appearance here, as a fucking horse for fuck's sake? Who thinks this shit up? Don't bother, I already know the answer. We also have the undeniable fact that we all know that the John Hurt Doctor was a last-minute twist when Eccleston told Moffat to go fuck himself. Hurt is fine as a one-off, classic-style Doctor, but the whole retcon still doesn't make any fucking sense. There appears to be no reason why, in the absence of Eccles, McGann couldn't have been used in this story rather than wasted on a 7-minute throwaway minisode that wasn't even shown on television. Moffat makes the lame-ass excuse that he couldn't see McGann fighting in the Time War, and that the Hurt Doctor is such a badass and crazy and shit that's why the other Doctors have disavowed him. Again though, that's not what we get on screen. Hurt's Doctor is a cranky but amiable enough old duffer who, when given the option to resolve the Time War without committing double genocide, takes it. Some people object to Moffat retconning the destruction of Gallifrey, but frankly I'm so sick of the Doctor angsting over this shit by now that I'm relieved to see the back of this plot thread. Davis got rid of the Time Lords to wipe away the backstory and give the show a fresh start. But by this point the Time War and this last of the Time Lord's survivor guilt bollocks has become a far bigger millstone round the neck of the character than the Time Lords popping up every now and then in classic Whoever Was. Still, resolving the Time War does not a 50th anniversary special, and nor even does Tom popping up for half a minute at the end. Even more annoying is that the story has the perfect device to allow for cameos by old doctors and companions in the moment, who instead inexplicably decides to haunt Hurt by taking the form of someone he hasn't even met yet. Yes, it's fucking Billy fucking Piper, as if to reiterate, if we were ever in any doubt, that this is all really about giving the new series an anal tonguing. It's a reasonable New Who season finale but a lousy anniversary story. Finally, the Matt Smith era came to an end with the 2013 Christmas special, The Time of the Doctor, which manages the unenviable feat of being even shittier than David Tennant's Regeneration story. The Time of the Doctor is an utter shit-fest from start to finish, with tediously unfunny jokes, a shit attempt to give Clara a shit family, who we then never see again, so who gives a fuck, and a plot that basically involves the Doctor sitting around doing fuck all for hundreds of years. At this point I'm genuinely baffled as to who this show is supposed to be aimed at. Kids? Kids would have been bored shitless by this boreathon. I know I was. Hardcore Who fans? Hardly. Oh, and Moffat suddenly decides that Tennant's non-regeneration in that shitfest Journey's End counts, so with the Hurt retcon that means Smith is the last Doctor, so yay Moffat, what can be the one who gets to resolve the regeneration limit? Lame and egotistical as fuck. The only good bit in this whole piece of crap is Karen Gillan's cameo, which almost borders on touching for a moment there. Then Crappledy takes over and mutters some barely coherent shit about colored kidneys, and any hope for the next era goes down faster than the TARDIS does. Series 7B is a shitfest from start to finish. Actually, Series 7 as a whole is one colossal exercise in inept, embarrassing, tedious shit from start to finish. I don't think there are words that can express quite how much I hate it. I give Series 7 of New Who a well-deserved and thoroughly disgusted F.